Hey folks, Brian, we got to play RQG. Yeah. Sorry. I missed doing an update last weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, because I was actually in Utah with my best friend and my daughter. Having Thanksgiving. And we did play some 5e, so maybe I'll do a little recap video of that. But anyway, back in town, back with my players, although two of them were not able to show, so we still had 3, which is a majority, so we went with it. Lots of discussion up front early on that's not captured in the live play, which is in the description. Just because we're discussing things in general. We got to a certain point, though, we're actually discussing things I thought probably should be captured. So I started recording somewhere in the middle there. So there's lots of talking on what to do next, how to handle things. I also wanted to simulate all the spirit combat that had to go on because they wanted to free the village of these passive possessive passion spirits. So a little narration piece of the shaman going around, the PC shaman going around and look and see, okay, who was passively possessed and getting a rough number of that. It turned out, in total there's like 44 people in the village that have these passive possessing passion spirits. See that 5 times fast. And so, okay, how are we going to tackle this? And then last thing I want to do is be rolling dice over and over and over. I mean, there's one thing when we were doing with just the 2 PCs, getting them free, but now we're talking about so many. So while the party was discussing things, I was trying to figure out some kind of mathematics on this kind of stuff. And with the shamanic ability that the PC shaman has on increasing his magic points for spirit combat, got him to the point where I figured he could do 12 passion spirits in a day without his own magic points getting, below 0 kind of thing. So he still had some positive left over. So next day he gets his, that's true, it wouldn't be the whole next day. It would be 24 hours later he'd get all his magic points back. So maybe it would take a longer. Didn't think about that. But anyway, so they free the 3 weapon thanes and talk with them and realize that these guys are possessed against their better manners, their inclination. They had been captured like other people. And the party asked, well, who should we let free loose? And they get the smith and his 2 sons, because they'll give us some fighters to help with whatever else it is that we're going to be doing. And he talks about the inn. The guys at the inn are bad guys. Well, the proprietor and the cook, and there's this other guy. Oh, I caught myself. That other guy's one of the guys that got captured. He's a bad guy. Oh, by the way, he is actually not possessed. So he is a real bad guy. But then you got bad guys who are also possessed in the inn. But there are other people that are in the inn that are possessed, but may not be bad guys. That kind of thing. And there's some discussion again about the hermit, and they go to Grandma Duck and ask again with her on, okay, who do you think's a bad guy? And she names off, the smith and the carpenter and these 3 families, and the smith and the 3 families matched up with the shamans sneaking about, but the carpenters weren't. Carpenters were actually okay. And so they free the smith and his 2 sons. Forgot about the wife and daughters, though. Get them later. And the next day, they go down to see, the next day they free up 2 more families and they go see the shaman. And they had a hard time getting through to and convincing the shaman to help them out and to do, something. But eventually, through storytelling, we did this, we've done this. Well, we know about this. We know this started out as here we are trying to do this stuff. We know something's bad going on. We talked to Grandma Duck. We talked with the chieftain, and we know about this and that and the other. And so, some bonuses were coming out of that with the oration and impassioning with stasis. Right? We need to do something. So that started out well, but didn't continue to increase. But then made some saves and got through and managed to convince the guy that, hey, yeah, we are actually good guys. We are trying to take this cult down. We have done these things, this, that, and the other, and eventually he comes around. Okay, yeah, I can help you out with freeing the village. At the time, I wasn't so sure about attacking the temple, but I think I forgot about that as things went along. So he's helping him with the temple too. So next day, between the 2 shamans, they can pretty much clean up the rest of the village of possessed people. The next day, they go in and they surround the inn and capture the folks there. They free the possessed people. They're just staying there, and they're okay. In fact, one was a merchant who needs to get back home because he's been here way too long. In fact, they had paid a ransom for him, but he had not been released. And that was some time ago. And then we've got so they capture the bad guys, right? There's the bad guy that they had captured before, who's all tied up still. Then the prior of the inn and the cook are also captured. They interrogated them and find out more about the priest and the high priest and the priestess. And the party puts together that the priestess seems to be the one who's been running things here. The high priest, they remember from the memory vision that he was at the worship service, but he was in the back, whereas the priestess was up front. And so I think maybe the high priest is, against his will, and he's trying not to be involved. And there's some discussion about the whole when he was there, and then there's a whole slew of discussions about if you are a worshiper of, say, Runequest, how can you be associating with this serpent cult that raises the dead? Eventually, we get around to, are these people raising the dead? Are these people sacrificing magic points or sacrificing power points? Are they initiates or are they just lay members? There's these power level things that you can get away with certain things at certain levels without worrying the gods that much. So they're wondering about, are they getting their power point, their rune points back and that kind of thing? And there's a whole slew of discussion in there about that. And my personal perception on the whole deal is, unless you are actively doing something against the case of the deity or initiate for, there's a lot of wiggle room, especially for something like a spirit cult. Come on, that's nothing. That's little beans. There's no power there. There's nothing to worry about. And it's true that they weren't. Well, a couple of them have sacrificed power points for the spirit cult, spirit magic, or rune magic. So, but nobody who's a proper member of the temple has been, making zombies, which is what everything is kind of coming down to. How can you be making zombies and worship Runequest? Well, they're not. And they're not. So it took a while for one of the players who really couldn't get his brain wrapped around, because he was putting it too close together. Once we kind of smooth things out, because you can you can be an initiate of hostile cults. It's not going to be easy because that's that whole social thing, right? And if this cult finds out that they're hostile to this cult and you're a member of that cult, there may be some tension going there, right? So, yeah, weebly wobbly, timey wimey stuff, right? So, anyway, they free up the rest of the village, they take down the inn, and then they get ready to go to the temple. And there's like 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. Initially, I thought it was 8 because I thought it was 5 and 1 and 2, but it's actually 4 and 1 and 2. People in the temple that are in fact possessed by these passion spirits. And there was actually a discussion at one point in there about, can you look at a person and tell if there's you're using true sight, right? So you see both powers. Can you tell which power is the person's power, which power is the possessing spirit's power? And you can. And I remember there being something. I remember the smudge thing. So we looked it up. And you actually tell the difference between active possession and passive possession because they present differently. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, they can tell. So there's, the party keeps going, okay, we take out the high priest and the priestess. Well, you can't tell who the priestess and high priest are. I can tell you within categories of power. And so we actually mapped it out a bit. Okay, there are 2 people in here who have a power greater than the PC shaman. So we're talking about 16 or higher. And whose passively possessing passion spirit also has a power of 16 or higher. And then there's, some whose passion spirits are higher and some one whose person is higher. But nobody is below 11 and nobody is above 21. And we got that from the NPC shaman because that was his parameter. He's got 16 power. So, okay, there's the 2 gardener guys, out in the yard doing their thing. There is one person in the front corner of the temple, and that is one of the high power, high possessing power. And then there are 4 towards the back, one of which is high power and high possessing power. And so they get together, everybody. Okay, we'll get the villagers outside the gate, ready to storm if necessary. The party with the 3 things, that power, go forward. The idea is, wrap on the temple, talk to the priestess, and before she can do something, try and take her down or something, right? And as they're moving forward, when the gardener comes around, gentlemen, how can I help you? What do you want? We come to speak with the priestess. Okay, so he goes in. As soon as he opens the door and walks in, the whole party barges through underneath, or right behind. It's a small temple, not a whole lot of initiates, so only 1 room point of power. So it's a 1 point warding. It will give the priestess 2 points of spirit blocking when the spirits attack, but they're not actually going to attack her because they're attacking the possessing spirit. So, because the temple is concerned about her, not any possessing spirit that she's got, so what? But people barging in to kill the priestess, yeah. Priestess knows they're coming in, and they all get hit with the 1 point warding. So a bunch of them took 3 points of damage, a leg here, an arm there, a whole bunch in the chest. Ow, 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 ow. The gardener guy turns around. He's got a shadow cat with him, and they kind of back up. And so the party steps forward and take us to your leader. He kind of goes, Priestess Misha, we have guests. And then he starts backing up. And the party, I map it out a little bit. Yeah, there's around the corner, there's a door, and there's a statue in this corner. Oh, I'm going to check out the statue. I'm going to check out the door. Okay, we were just kind of crawling, walking, talking stuff, and now everybody's booking. Whatever, okay. Door. He's running. Befuddle, and then I'll go to the door. The befuddle actually worked. So the guy's over around the corner of the curtain, behind the, not the Holy of Holies, but initiates inside, lay members out, that kind of thing. And a couple of buffing spells during that first couple rounds. So she's got essentially 3 melee rounds before they come busting through that door to prep up. And we were getting close to the end of midnight, and I tried to cut off at midnight. So that's where we called it. Oh, only 15 minutes. Not too bad, fairly short. But then there wasn't a whole lot of combat or anything to talk about this time. But a whole lot of actually just talking and role playing and gathering information, disseminating information. It was actually a pretty good session. I had fun. Happy gaming.